Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is a brand new and different video and I really hope you enjoy. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, the youngest member of the Fantastic Four, a fan favorite character in the early days of the Fantastic Four comics, he got his own series in Strange Tales, starting with issue 101 and going to issue 134. Now, this series started besides Fantastic Four issue 7, and going besides that mag until issue 40. Now, these are short stories. Usually the other half of the comic had a Doctor Strange story in it. About the last third of the series had the Thing as a secondary character as well, almost becoming a pre-Marvel 2-in-1. There is no real tie-in with the Fantastic Four into this series, just little mentions of a villain or two. The biggest thing in the villains is the Wizard and Trapster first appeared in Strange Tales, and they and two other characters formed the Frightful Four in Fantastic Four issue 36. Issue 101 has the only appearance of this villain named the Destroyer, not that great of an issue though, and Fantastic Four issue 7, the only thing here is Mr. Fantastic studying shrinking/growing gas, which is why Hank Pym only trusts Reed Richards with his Ant-Man formulas. It also was one of the only appearances of Krugo, the master of Planet X. But anyway, for today's video, I'm here to list off my top 10 Strange Tales Human Torch stories. There's a bunch of neat and fun stuff the Torch gets into, and we are going to look at some of my favorites. Number 10 is Strange Tales issue 108, The Painter of 1,000 Perils. In this story, a supervillain named the Painter works to get his revenge on the Human Torch. In this story, we learn of a new rogue named the Painter. In the past, the Human Torch invaded his gang and ruined his counterfeiting scheme, sending him to jail. Well, he's back. He escaped, and when he did, he found a secret cavern where he found hieroglyphics from an alien race explaining how the painters left behind work. The painter then used his paints to create various traps to try and stop the Torch. His final plan involved creating fakes of the other members of the Fantastic Four to lure the Torch into a room where he is seemingly destroyed by a grenade. Of course it was a trick, and the Torch melts all of the painter's brushes. The villain did return decades later, but that was a unique story with a surprising way the story timeline parts were written and introduced. Since out of nowhere in this story, there's a flashback to Johnny Storm invading his gang and stopping it. We didn't even know this ever happened before. Number 9. Strange Tales issue 104, the first appearance of Paste Pot Pete, later known as the Trapster. Overall, Paste Pot Pete is just a guy who has a glue gun and carries around a bucket of paste with him too. He's without his paste pack here. He does a bank robbery, pasting people to the walls, literally, and stopping the cops in their tracks or pasting their weapons to their hips with his paste. Very ridiculous of a threat. And as crazy as it sounds, when he faces the Torch, he manages to stick him to the top of a missile and it blasts off, probably the most villainous thing he did before the 90s. Paste Pot Pete, always seen as a joke with that name, he is now known as a Trapster obviously, but he still uses paste as a weapon though, and in this issue, that paste is strong. I hate his look here though, I'll admit. This issue is on the list because of how well known the character becomes in the future, and just how crazy of a ride it was reading about his first appearance. Number 8. July 1965, the last issue of Strange Tales released, Strange Tales issue 134, with the Watcher guest starring. This takes place after Fantastic Four issue 40, where Dr. Doom took over the Baxter Building, and the FF teamed up with Daredevil to stop him, and right before the return of the Frightful Four. This story has the Thing and Johnny Storm travel back in time to stop an Avengers-level threat, Kang the Conqueror. The Human Torch and the Thing are living their normal lives, while the other half of the team are away. Then the Watcher sends them back in time to best Kang before he fully takes over in a historic time. So the two have to fight knights, swords, and shields, and Kang himself. Kang the Conqueror traveled back in time to Camelot and bested Merlin in battle, and took control over the kingdom in a bid to conquer that era. I think this is a forgotten Kang tale, because the way it wraps up is just Kang retreating after Merlin is freed. The most special things about this comic is the figures in here. Yeah, on the outside it looks like a great climax for this series, but it reads like a small typical adventure for the Torch and Thing, with that being the joke the series ends on, since when they go home, Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Girl just think they did nothing all day. Number 7. Wait, what? Strange Tales issue 114 looks to have the return of Captain America, but this was made 5 months before Avengers issue 4. Yeah, that mystery stumped me while reading this whole issue. One day, Johnny Storm's friends/fans go to his place and tell him about the triumphant return of Captain America, World War II hero. Later, he fights some criminals in a getaway car, which the Torch helps to stop, but then Captain America fights him. And then Captain America helps those criminals escape prison. What's going on here? Clearly this isn't Steve Rogers, it's the Acrobat, an old foe returning. Now, in the real world, this issue was done to see if the public wanted to have a return of Captain America in the modern day comics. They responded yes, and it happened. I like this story because of the huge mystery reading it today made it very memorable. The villain Acrobat only appeared 2 more times after this, but hey. Number 6. This issue was the first appearance of the future Spider-Man villain, the Beetle, and also guest starred The Thing for the first time. Well, mainly The Thing starred for the first time, because usually it was him with the rest of the Fantastic Four. It was Strange Tales issue 123, The Birth of Beetle. 6 months later, Beetle would fight Spider-Man, but let's talk about why this appearance is so good. The Beetle is a disenfranchised inventor who wishes to make it rich the easy way. He creates these special wings that enable him to fly and are bulletproof. The Beetle starts his crime career by stealing a cash register right in front of the Human Torch and the Thing. At first, the 2 heroes think this is a joke, but they still confront the Beetle and he puts up a good fight, being able to glide around quickly and even punch down the Torch. Eventually, the heroes trap him and he goes to prison. There's 2 reasons I really like this issue. 1, it has the Thing and the Human Torch team up. 2nd, it has a giant fight that spans across the city. Also, this being the Spider-Man villain Beetle in his first appearance is pretty neat. I also love this scene when Beetle commits his very first crime and he just steals a register right in front of the heroes, being so cocky. Number 5, top 5. This tale was in Strange Tales issue 112, the first appearance of the villain Eel. In a story, the Eel, a new villain, steals Project X, but without resetting the atomic timer, it will explode and kill everyone. So the Human Torch goes after him to defuse the mini-nuclear pile. This bomb going off is a big deal, that we even see the villain, the Wizard, in prison worrying about it. There's actually a side story in this issue, where there's a newscaster who hates on Johnny Storm, saying that he's just a brat with his powers, only amusing himself with his antics. The finale proves the news wrong, as Johnny Storm almost sacrifices his life to get the nuclear pile far away enough to save everyone from an explosion, and the rest of the Fantastic Four go to the Torch and bring him to the Baxter building to save his life after he gets caught in that explosion. The Eel is not the greatest part of this story, but he probably is the most realistic threat, as when he learns he can't sell the project and that it's about to blow up, he just runs away from it. There's a lot going on for this one story, and don't get me wrong, you do show off the Eel's slippery powers, but that's barely a thing. Number 4. Strange Tales issue 113, where it was the Plant Man's first appearance. Sure, he didn't have his supervillain costume here, but the story's good. Actually, for the Eel, really fast, they have some detective work finding the guy because he works in an aquarium and he's obsessed with eels, so that's another special part about the story. Okay, sorry about that injection. I need Strange Tales issue 113 now. The 4th best story and the first appearance of Plant Man. So the issue opens up with Johnny Storm visiting his girlfriend Doris Evans, witnessing Doris's father firing the gardener for playing with a device that helps plant growth instead of working. Later, the device gets hit by lightning and can control plants now. The gardener, named Samuel Smithers, decides with his powers to get revenge on Doris's dad by framing him for a robbery. About Doris Evans, this is her first appearance, and she's Johnny's first girlfriend. The pair actually date from Strange Tales issue 113 to 133. Doris later breaks up with him in Fantastic Four issue 45 after she got tired of his superhero lifestyle. Plantman is an introvert and he likes plants more than people. The battles are really creative here, like making the Torch wet with the tree dew, and at the end the Plantman's weapons he uses to control plants gets destroyed, but Plantman himself hides in the tree and escapes. At night, Human Torch instantly recognizes Plantman's true identity, but can't capture the rogue as he's too tricky. The rest is a simple revenge story, but I really like it because I love unique weird rogues, and it is an important first appearance for the Torch's love life. Number 3. Strange Tales issue 105 had the return of the Wizard. The Wizard breaks out of prison for revenge on the Human Torch, and this is before he makes his flying pink suit with his anti-gravity discs, and it's his second appearance ever. I love the way they make the Wizard a technical genius, almost like a real magician. He kind of reminds me of the Flash villain Abracadabra here. The Torch and the Invisible Girl, she's in here too, almost get defeated by the guy. It's a really fun adventure with a surprise inside. The writing is also very sharp, as Wizard prepared for everything that would realistically happen, like the cops coming for him at the same time he fights the Torch. I appreciate touches like that. Number 2. The runner-up for me is Strange Tales issue 116, The Return of the Puppet Master, and he creates a one-on-one for Torch against the Thing. Yes, this is Puppet Master's third appearance, where it's explained how he survived the ending of Fantastic Four issue 14 when he controlled the Submariner. Now, he has a strong vendetta against the Thing since Ben Grimm is dating his daughter, so he controls Human Torch to attack Grimm. Of course, the two pull their punches the whole time, forcing Puppet Master to get up close and personal into the fight. Spotted by Alicia, his stepdaughter, she informs the Torch of the Puppet Master's machinations, and the Torch uses his flame powers to destroy the puppets he's using to control them. The Thing is about to pummel the Puppet Master until Alicia talks him into letting him go. My second favorite relationship in the Fantastic Four is between the Thing and Alicia Masters. Having it continue here, and the issue can be seen as also the end of a Puppet Master trilogy that was in Fantastic Four issue 8, issue 14, and this one, since he goes to jail at the end of this. It is a very well written and thought out tale as well. And number 1, my favorite Human Torch Strange Tales issue is number 111, and it had this villain called the Asbestos Man. It is definitely my favorite issue to read. So the Human Torch meets his match, the Asbestos Man, a man who can't be hurt by flame. Orson Kozlov one day decided his scientific knowledge wasn't appreciated, and after seeing the Torch stop a robbery, he decided to pull off perfect crimes and get rid of the Human Torch. Challenging the Human Torch to a public battle, he manages to outsmart the guy, delivering a humiliating defeat to the hero and giving Asbestos Man the credentials to get hired on by a local crime boss. However, when he pulls off an actual crime, the Torch challenges Asbestos Man again, using his flame powers to eat all the oxygen around instead of trying to burn him, forcing Asbestos Man and his crooks to surrender. Asbestos Man, the greatest Human Torch enemy, who would have thought, although I guess by wording it's pretty obvious. Nature versus nurture, gadgets versus powers, good story of a normal guy turning bad for profit. The way the Human Torch deals with this threat, who even sends him letters at a time, is nonetheless very strange, but he is a foe never is off the Human Torch's mind. He basically forces Johnny Storm to have to stop him, by coincidence or not. So definitely number 1 Human Torch solo story out of the 34. And those were my top 10 Human Torch Strange Tales issues, with a surprising amount of first appearances and even new powers Torch only used in the series in the 60s. It's kind of stinks so few people look at this time. There are 2 Spider-Man crossover moments I didn't put on the list simply because I didn't think they were top 10. One is probably the most well-known. It's Strange Tales Annual 2, where the Torch and Spidey team up against a robber called the Fox. The second was Strange Tales issue 115, where Torch takes on the Sandman. In that story, there's an interesting part where Torch has to use his greatest weakness, water, against Sandman, since that's also Sandy's kryptonite. Actually, Strange Tales issue 115 was Sandman's second ever appearance. Whenever the Fantastic Four guest starred, it was just like a normal Fantastic Four issue, nothing felt off about it. Sure, it rarely happened, but it was very nice. Once or thrice it tied into the plot itself. The issue had crossovers with Iceman, Spider-Man, and some others. Many villains, quite a variety in quality of powers and character. Some are well known even today, some only had one appearance. But overall, it was a really fun ride. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and have a great day.